You know, as I was sitting on the couch staring at the ceiling thinking of films to cover next, a thought popped into my mind. What is the need of continuing stories that perfectly wrap the overall tale it's telling, and the characters in this once great world? Notice how I said once. It's like Hollywood has lost its ability to creatively come up with something unique, an original idea. Nowadays, it's either remakes, failed reboots, or creating a fourth film off a third film that has successfully wrapped everything in one whole bowl with no stain to be seen.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, you got Indiana Jones, Star Wars, bloody Toy Story. A lot of these franchises have been stabbed by the consequences of big studios mingling with their stories and losing the qualities that made the originals so great. There is a valid reason why many original screenwriters and directors never return after telling a perfect trilogy. This ushers in Pirates of the Caribbean, directed by Gore Verbinski, a franchise in which has been buried for quite some time now. Keep it that way. After a failed attempt to win anything from Dead Men Tell No Tales, I'm even pretty sure the film lost money once combined with its insane budget and the amount poured into its marketing. You see, the original three films I hold very dearly to my heart. Watching them as a kid to now, I enjoy the story because it's conveying and it's created some iconic characters. I almost find the trilogy to be underrated in a way. Curtis the Black Pearl was the start of it all. Introduced fans to icons like Jack Sparrow and the others, but sadly they got outshined by the miraculous performance by Johnny Depp, but this by no means discredits the rest. It's like choosing which of the three Lord of the Rings films is better. Given the fact this was pretty much the first blockbuster attempt of a concept such as pirates made by a corporation that was still respected back then and have any ounce of respect for storytelling. So hop on board the Cursed Pearl and drink up me hearties. Let's dissect the plot, shall we? The movie begins with a flashback aboard the Dauntless. We see a young Miss Elizabeth singing a pirate song. Mr. Gibbs, a member of the British Royal Navy, forbids Elizabeth to even breathe of those lyrics, given the images pirates bestow around the world, especially to the Navy. The crew stumble upon a wreckage with the boy unconscious, drifting away from the carnage. The boy's name is Will Turner, who carries a pirate medallion. Elizabeth does spot this and keeps it hidden, avoiding the Navy from hanging the boy. And if you think I'm joking, they actually do this. Elizabeth wakes up from her dream and is informed by her father that Norrington is having his coronation today as he's being promoted to Commodore. A grown-up Will crafted a sword for the future Commodore as a gift, but he sees Elizabeth coming down the stairs. The two converse, both shared the very moment they met how much Will thanks Elizabeth for what she did for him that very day. But right after this, we get introduced to the greatest pirate to ever live, Jack Sparrow. Jack enters Port Royal to hijack a ship, seek vengeance against Barbossa for his mutiny. Elizabeth's dress being too tight gets unconscious and falls 100 feet down the ocean. Jack dives deep down to rescue her and taking all the excess weight that brought her to that very situation. A bit of eyebrow raise, how did she manage to survive that fall? Unconscious, deep down in the ocean, kid you not, right at the fucking bottom. And she's perfectly fine. I'd probably be puking like crazy or be dead from all the pressure. Oh well, physics is nearly non-existent in these movies. Pretty much every Pirates of the Caribbean film. Elizabeth protests to not hang Jack Sparrow as he saved her life, but since he ran into a situation with the Indian Trading Company, it gives everyone a reason to execute him. Whilst Elizabeth protests to not move forward with the order, Jack uses her as bait, providing him some time to cleverly escape. Still in handcuffs, he enters a blacksmith shop and runs into Will Turner. The two gentlemen try to prove who the better swordman is, but Jack plays the environment to his advantage, defeats Will, and puts him at a vulnerable state. All seems good for a good friend Jack here, but he gets smashed in the head with a glass bottle, knocking him unconscious. He spends his time in a dusty prison. But now, remember that splash in the ocean that Elizabeth did, and it just points to the medallion, and you hear that very eerie music? Elizabeth was carrying the medallion which fell into the water. It caused the ripple of alert, giving away the location for the crew of the Black Pearl to begin a full-scale invasion on Port Royal. Now these are no ordinary pirates. The full moon reveals who they truly are in this very scene. Since Elizabeth has the medallion, they kidnap her and present her to Captain Barbossa. Elizabeth demands that she will hand over the medallion if they send her back to Port Royal. Given the desperation and the need for the pirate medallion, Barbossa obliges with these demands but does not drop Elizabeth offshore given she lied about her identity of being a Turner, and a second piece for the crew of lifting this inevitable curse.
Turner.
Back at Port Royal, Will releases Jack Sparrow in hopes he can help him locate the Black Pearl and save Miss Elizabeth. The two hijack the Interceptor and make way for Tortuga, where we meet Gibbs, who is very fond of Jack and grew respect for the pirate culture. Sparrow explains to Gibbs that he's after the pearl and Will is just leverage for him, given he's Bootstrap Bill's son. The blood Barbossa needs to lift the curse.
One can only hope. Take what you can. Give nothing back.
They even recruit a crew for this adventure. Jack brings Will into the cave of Isla de that word, and they witness the blood ritual for Elizabeth, but it didn't work out given the fact that she's not a Turner. She gets smacked unconscious. Seems like everybody's getting knocked unconscious in this film. And Will whacks Sparrow, knocking him unconscious as well. Like, see what I mean? Leaving him being captured by Barbossa. The two crewmates share what the last 10 years have been like. For Barbossa, it has nothing been but a curse filled with emptiness. Literally. And for Jack, he's merely building himself to enact his revenge on his first mate that betrayed him.
In fact, if you hadn't betrayed me and left me to die, I would have an equal share in that curse, same as you.
Once the crew of the Black Pearl capture Will Turner, Elizabeth and Jack walk the plank, and are left deserted on the very island Jack escaped. Definitely should have chosen a different island, not the same one he specifically told Barbossa he escaped from. Anyways, we get this powerful scene in which delves more into Jack's nature. He isn't all this cruel, wretched pirate that many picture him as, but he has some heart behind the cold.
Welcome to the Caribbean, love.
Everything he does is for the ship. His ship is his treasure, a treasure for freedom. After one drunken night, Elizabeth creates a fire with all the rum to distribute a signal for oncoming ships, in which she succeeds in doing so as Norrington rescues her, but also makes a deal with Sparrow to keep him alive till they reach Isla de Muratara. That word. Jack provides info and a plan that he'll lure Barbossa out, and Norrington can kill him with both sides having weapons on them. Norrington accepts the proposal, so Jack begins to persuade Barbossa in keeping the curse and use it to their advantage, and he can have 2 boats, but Jack wants percentage of the share. Jack plays around with the Aztec gold and hides one in his sleeve. Pretty clever. Barbossa accepts the deal, and this gives Jack the advantage to have Barbossa one-on-one with no reinforcements. Jack finally strikes with the help of Will Turner. Meanwhile, on the waters, Barbossa's men engage in a scuffle with Norrington's men. But when just so happens, Barbossa stabs Jack in the gut, but Jack is still standing and plays with the coin and mocks Barbossa.
Couldn't resist, mate.
Once Will and Elizabeth are able to take up Barbossa's men in the fight, this gives Jack the opportunity to put his blood on the coin. He tosses the coin to Will, Barbossa takes out his gun, and we believe as an audience that he shot Elizabeth in this scene, given her expression, but Jack used his final shot on the man who put him in this very situation. He got his revenge and his ship of freedom, but for Barbossa, the urge to feel again has ended with nothing but coldness.
Cold.
Jack is set to be executed for his crimes, but Will, breaking all rules, helps Jack escape his death. And both Will and Elizabeth stand up for Jack, confronting Norrington. Jack gets his ship, Will and Elizabeth become a thing, and Norrington is stuck in the friend zone.
Drink up, me hearties, yo-ho.
What a movie. I miss a good adventure. Whenever Hollywood produces icky shit,
I'm an inventor. This could be a game changer for me.
glue my attention to classics like Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and Pirates of the Caribbean. For great reason. Not only do those films excel in terms of storytelling, but the story is driven by great characters. The story in Curse of the Black Pearl is complex and brilliant. Is it realistic? No. It has supernatural elements, but the elements improves the film, making it more intense for us and the characters in the movie. Will is the main MacGuffin. Weird, I know, because MacGuffins are particularly objects in which characters chase after for either greater power or to become rich or any of those sort of grail. Not in this movie. You see, Will's father was part of the Black Pearl crew. Once Jack was mutinied upon, he was furious at Barbossa for breaking the code. He walked the plank before the crew figured out they need each member's blood to lift the wretched curse. Bootstraps gave the medallion to Will, keeping away from Barbossa, to quite frankly teach him a lesson. Will, being founded by Royal Navy, lives through a false perception of all pirates being bad. When you look deeper into the ocean, he has piracy in his blood. Obviously, learning such news, he's in complete denial.
Was a bloody pirate, a scallywag.
My father was not a pirate.
But as the curtain opens very slowly, he accepts who he is.
He's a pirate.
Elizabeth embarks on her own journey of acceptance, seeing more of the sea, not the condensed narrative she's been living in that all pirates are bad and putrid people. Meeting the likes of Jack, her view becomes bigger and less dense, that at the end she protects Jack from being hanged in front of a crowd. But she did face some bad apples during her journey. Barbossa. Barbossa isn't your typical villain who seeks all the riches and gold to gain some sort of power. Although towards the end he takes up on that offer from Jack, but the entire purpose leading to that offer was the ability to feel once again. His brilliant monologue emphasizes the struggle of living a life with no sense. He's a walking corpse. He's a pirate facing consequences for breaking the guidelines that all pirates must follow.
You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one.
The movie brings the apple into fruition as it completely encapsulates Barbossa's holy grail in the film. The film consists of many great characters, but the one that truly shines the most is Jack Sparrow, and for good reason. He's likable, charismatic, and has a purpose. And he's actually very funny, but not to the point it's shoved down your throat. It's very subtle, and it doesn't look like someone's trying to be funny in the movie. But it is who he is. It's all natural. His goofiness is merely a disguise to trick those who oppose him. Throughout the film, he's merely seeking revenge for his mutiny by his first mate, Barbossa, and taking his freedom. Jack carries around a pistol with one shot, a pistol given by Barbossa himself. So if he ever gave up on surviving on that island, he simply had the freedom to pull the trigger anytime. But the pearl is what motivates Jack to keep going, not wasting that one shot and using on a man who deserves every bit of that bullet. After the long quest, he's able to get his revenge and his beloved pearl. Curse of the Black Pearl thrives on clever writing, compelling characters, as well as messages conveyed in the film, such as never judge a book by its cover or accepting who you are, embracing it. Lastly, not everyone is the same. All these keys are what creates a great adventure film. This film is near damn perfect. It does hit very few rocks along the way, but nothing damaging to the plot in any shape or form. I've said what's needed to be said about this movie. So yeah, goodbye.